a seat at the table with some men with confidence.
And welcome to the Open Mics Podcast. I'm the host, Tony. And today we are joined by two members of the crew. We have Rhino and we have Terrence. We're going to go one by one and say hello to everyone. Hello, Rhino.
What's good, everybody?
And hello, Terrence.
Greetings and salutations, people.
All right. So today we're going to start with a simple question. What is a simp? And I'll just preface with this word is being used a lot lately. And it seems to apply to so many different things. So we're going to try and narrow it down in this episode. So I'm just going to throw it out to the fellas. What do you think your definition of a simp is?
Okay, so the first thing that came to my mind when I very initially heard the word, first thought was sucker. You's a sucker, man. You over here doing like all of this, that, and the third for whatever reason, and you just getting played. You a chump. You a loser, a lame, somebody that's just overextending themselves unnecessarily when it's clear you are wasting your time and efforts. So that is my layman's somewhat educated and very plain speak definition of a simp.
You know, I don't think I can add anything to that. Actually, I mean, I'm thinking the same thing. Someone who's acting as if in a way to incur favor because they think they deserve it, not because they actually deserve it, but because they think they deserve it. We used to call them brown nosers.
Yes.
I'm not a brown nose. No one wants to be a brown noser. And
suck up.
I'm not going to explain what brown nosing means. You can go ahead and use Google just like the rest of us. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we used to call them back in the day.
Yeah.
But apparently, this word simp is taking on a whole new meaning. And I'm assuming it's something that this newer generation is coming up with as a Generation Xer. We call them brown nosers, but I'm sure everyone can come up with a totally different definition.
See, and here I am thinking you were going to follow what I said with the, politically correct dictionary definition of the terms, and then you just co-sign what I said. Man, come on.
Okay, brown nosing is, I guess, kind of a crude term, but
no offense, it is what it is. I'm just saying. I thought you were going in a different direction.
No, I like I said, I don't think that I could add anything to what you said. What you said was probably more succinct than what I said. It just is what it is.
So when it comes to simp, I think you're both in the right direction. It's basically when you I know in certain video games they call them a try hard. When you're just trying way too hard.
Right.
When you're putting in way too much effort for no reward. And the thing that always gets me is when I hear simp, I always think that the opposite of a simp is a pimp. Like it's the reflection of a pimp.
That's good.
So
that's good.
So instead of you getting tricks, you the trick.
You being tricked.
Yeah.
You are the
getting tricked.
You are the trick.
That is too funny. But in this instance, yeah.
So continuing this conversation, so we have an idea of what simp is supposed to mean. How do you hear the word being used today? Is it being used anywhere close to what it's supposed to mean?
Oh no, it's definitely an insult. It's even more of an insult than the term that I use, brown nosing, I would say.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely an insult still, like, one of them things that you're gonna jab at somebody with. But I think what qualifies a person as a simp now is different. It's, you know, the slightest hint of doing something nice for someone, or in this instance, in these contexts, doing something nice for someone that you're interested in. Oh, you're a simp because I held the door. What? Yeah, it's. I think it's one of those terms that's being thrown out excessively for any and everything, but you know, that's just that's at least what I've seen.
Folks, you just thought you left the kindergarten playground. You have not left the playground. As adults, we're still on the playground. People are still poking fun at other people's weaknesses or perceived weaknesses. And simp is just one of those words. Like thirsty. I used to think thirsty meant you need some water. Go get some water, bro. But apparently thirsty has a whole new meaning today. And this simp word is similar. It's just another word used to insult someone, to knock them down a couple of pegs. It can be used to make yourself feel better and make somebody else feel worse. That's all it is. You are still on the playground. They are still coming for you.
Yeah, I think the thing that gets me is it seems that any act of kindness, any act of kindness, courtesy, chivalry, respect, anything this outside of just ignoring someone or being mean to them, merely going from a man to a woman or male to a female, any of that's considered simping. Hey man, you pour water on that lady on fire, you simping, man. You's a simp.
Right? I
Dude,
think
she was going to die if I didn't help. Okay, I'm a simp. Okay, I got it. Got
I
it. Got it.
Man, you stopped your car while she was in the crosswalk. You simping, man. You just it's, it's getting to the
um,
point where it's like anything you do, even
yeah,
if it's for people that really should deserve it, like being kind to your female family members or your actual fiance wife. Like, how do you simp for the person that you are actually in a relationship with?
bro. In this day and age, doctors are like the biggest simps ever. You remove that bullet from that woman's brain. Oh, doc, you was simping hard, man. You was tripping. What is wrong with you? But I wanted to go back to something Bridal said, which was people are using the word to make themselves feel better. And I think there's something to that because, you know, it's one thing to try and pick on somebody, make a joke, whatever, whatever. But in this instance, I really feel like sometimes the simp is being pointed out to make the person calling someone else a simp feel better about their own personal situation, whether it's they have a certain interest in the same person, or they wish that they had the confidence to try and do something nice for that person to possibly garner some attention, or they are insecure because they tried to do something to get said person's attention and it failed, but they see their friend actually succeeding. So it could come from a place of envy, but whatever it is, I think it's definitely meant to, raise the status of the person calling the other individual a simp, and place that person on a lower tier for sure.
I think you're hitting on something, and I'm going to use another buzzword that's floating around today. I feel like the opposite of it is the quote unquote alpha male. And it feels like the people that consider themselves alpha males will throw out the word simp in order to distance themselves from simps. Like, you're a simp, and I can recognize that because I'm an alpha male. I don't simp for anybody. I don't hug anybody. I don't smile at kittens, you know. I frown at sunrises.
That is hilarious. I frowned at kittens.
But I'm just stern. I'm hard, tough. I'm immovable. I'm indestructible.
So just general steak meaner everywhere.
Like
Yes.
I'm 10
Colonel
toes down.
Steak
I stand on my square. You know,
Like,
can't move me, can't shake me.
even
but like every now and then, I start to bark. But you know,
what Cat Williams say? You gang banging on bacon? It's just bacon, bro. Just eat it and be angry later.
yeah, that is, it is completely out of order and wild how, I was sitting here thinking back in the day, Tony said something about being hard, man. Even the hardest hard rights was like, still able to find a little thug love, some thug passion or something. Now it's just like, no, no, you 1,000% hard. Like, okay, you won't be that hardcore gangster to that extent. Enjoy being a very lonely dude or dudette or whatever the opposite of dude is, because dude's a funny word. But anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole.
Right. They're sad people. And they're, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. But it's one thing to be a firm person, to be about your business and to be serious. But you mean to tell me you got to be angry and just mad and frowning all the time? All the time? Aaron Magruder in his comic wrote a strip, and in the strip he showed a bunch of gangster rappers. But it's surrounded by half naked dancing girls. Money is just floating down, and they got all kinds of jewels on their hands, and they're sitting there looking at the camera all mad. It's like, dude, what are you mad about? What are you really mad about? You seem like you have everything. Why are you mad? And there's people that actually walk around like this. I mean, you really have everything going for you. What's your point of contention now? Is it is it is it your shoes are too tight? Your heart is too small? What's the deal?
3 sizes too small. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go and have a Grinch moment where your heart breaks out of that cage and it grows and you could actually smile now. I
so,
mean, I think you should go for that.
so I want to kind of jump back because I think we touched something, but we almost skated over it. The whole going back to what Ronald said about the schoolyard in grade school, like there's a bunch of name calling going on,
Okay.
and it's all to make the name caller feel like the bigger person. Like we talked about the alpha males in the sense, the alpha males or the high value men or the big man on campus or you know you know the guy with the big D or whatever
Right.
he's trying to point at a dude and say, hey, you're lesser than me, you're less than me, not because that person is any lesser, but all to prop himself up. Because all right, first of all, let's be honest, who ain't never sent before? who, who, ain't,
Crickets.
who
I'm
ain't
about to say,
who ain't never been down that road?
I mean, I think to a degree we all have. I mean, we were all in high school at one point. We were all portraying ourselves to be something that we weren't, vying for the attention of our peers. And I think everyone, like I did, reached a certain point where we realized, I don't care what you think. I'm going to go and be who I am and do what I do. And found that we were more accepted when we did that. So, yeah, I would dare say we were all at some point in time simping.
Like I remember back in the day, you remember we used to buy little on Valentine's Day. We used to buy little cards with a little kitten sucker in the middle, give it to the whole class.
right?
Like you have contributed to someone else's happiness without you gaining something in return at least one point in time in your life. Like, and I think one of the things I also want to harp on is that ain't such a negative. It's not completely a negative to help a person or to be nice to a person and you not get anything in return. I'm not saying that you should do that on a regular. I'm not saying that you should make yourself, a tool for someone else's enjoyment, but there's nothing wrong with a little bit of charity. Because once upon a time, someone probably did something nice for you and you didn't give them anything back.
Right.
True story.
Fun fact, and I'm not gonna get off track, Tony. Just bear with me. I have a point.
You're fine, go for it.
Secret that you guys don't know about me. I sent when we were in high school, I sent a secret Valentine to a girl that I liked. I don't like her today, actually. Just she's not my type. But in high school I sent it to her, and I never revealed who I was to her. And I remember seeing her walking around school asking all these different guys, "Hey, did you send me this?" And I just looked at her. But at some point I realized I can't actually go and reveal who I am to her because she's not gonna accept me. And I didn't think she would. And I'm pretty certain that she wouldn't. But that aside, um, I have been in positions where I've gone on dates and I paid. And I wasn't paying with the intention that at the end of the date, I'm gonna, she gonna break me something off. No, I paid because in myself, I wanted to be the person that paid because I know that I can pay and not accept anything in return and not feel that you owe me. But she might not be that way, even though many times they've offered, "I'll pay this time." No, I got it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. So in that respect, a simping for me was not actually simping, I guess. In high school, that was definitely a simp move. But as an adult, nah, I wasn't trying to get anything out of her. I didn't expect anything out of her. I mean, I did expect something out of her, like if our relationship was to progress in a positive direction, then yeah, hey, when I bowed, sit down, when I got down on my one knee and offered you this ring in marriage, I would expect you to say yes, but it never went that far, so it is what it is. But I totally agree with you, Tony. You you may sip here and there, but don't feel that you are owed something.
Okay, so you make me want to jump off on that now because I think that the way that a lot of people relate to each other now is, and this may be a whole reason why simp is becoming such a negative word, is because the idea of doing something for someone and not getting something in return is now more negative than it used to be. Like everything's a transaction now.
Very true.
Everything's a barter now. Like if I give you a chicken, I get 3 eggs back. It's never I see you need a chicken and I hand you a chicken. It's not, that's not happening anymore. That's why you hear a lot of dudes complain about, well, if you ain't gonna put out, I ain't gonna take you out on a date, because they look at it as a transaction. They don't look at it as, I'm trying to do something nice for this person, or I'm trying to have an experience with this person. Nah, I'm giving you something. You need to give me something back. And I think that's happening a lot lately. And it's not, and I'm not just talking about in romantic relationships. I think that's why people aren't friends as much as they used to be, because people are expecting their friends to do that too. Like, hey, I called and checked on you twice. You ain't called and check on me none. What's up with that? Like, it's
I,
phone. It works both ways. Well,
I think that is a great point. That whole thing about people and everything being transactional nowadays, even outside of romantic relationships,
mm-hmm.
That's, I see that. I see that happening with people like, man, I call this person, I call that person, I text people. Don't nobody check on me though. Where's all the love for me? Because when I get down, I ain't got nobody that's gonna, lift me up. But I'm out here putting all this energy and time and vibe up for everybody else. And that's why I can't fool with nobody. Cause you know what I mean? And it just kind of creates that, I don't want to say bitterness, but that hardened, cranky, moody thing within people.
Bitterness is a
And,
good word.
within people. And then conversely, when you see somebody doing something nice, they get called that word we were talking about to begin with, a simp. So it is definitely a cycle there. And it's especially bad when you factor in those outside relationships as well as, any type of personal or romantic relationship with that. It just adds to that whole anything done for sake of being nice being seen as a simp. That's actually pretty good stuff that you just unpacked there. So, um,
It borders on narcissism. I did something for you. You owe me. Like, who do you
Well,
think you are?
that's who we are now as a society. That's where we are. Let's keep going down this road, because let's look at that, at what we were talking about last week, or in our last episode, when it comes to a man telling his child that, I love you, I believe in you, things like that. That's not a transaction. That's you giving something to your child. And I think that's looked at as, kind of looked at as being weak in a sense now, because it's not transactional. Like, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's
it
one-sided.
it
It's
is, yeah.
it's charitable instead of transactional. Like, it's you trying to put something in someone else without you getting anything in return. Or,
It's affirming someone else without, you know, it's not reciprocal, but it's not meant to be reciprocal. It's meant to be specifically for the individual you're trying to instill that self-worth or self-love in. I get what you mean.
and a lot of times when people have interactions, like with, father with a child, father son, mother daughter, uh person to person, a lot of times when we say thank you, I love you, it's a receipt, right? It's like it's in response to something that happened, right? Instead of just going to someone and say, hey, I'm proud of you. Not because you did something for me, not because I'm proud of you and therefore I expect something from you, but just the act, just the one-way directional goodness coming from one person to another without anything being reflected back. Don't see that happen very often.
Can I throw a question out here? I don't want to step
Hey,
on your toes any,
go for it.
but okay, since we started this conversation about simping and what a simp
Mhm.
is it possible to be a simp for someone that you're not in a romantic relationship with, but more like a familial or friend relationship with? Because based upon what we're talking about now, it's a thought that's been kind of rumbling through my head a little bit, and I'm just curious to see what you guys think before I answer.
I think it's possible because so here I think it's a complicated answer. Like I think if you go by the dictionary definition, probably not, right? Because I think that a lot of people today consider that the end result of simping is not getting sex.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay. But it may be not getting attention, not not getting it to the level that you want. But I also think that there can be an aspect of hero worship or putting somebody on a pedestal higher than yourself, right? And it might not even be you putting them up there. It might be you kind of kneeling down a little bit for them. You see what I'm saying? To the point where you see them as higher than you. Almost like, almost like a celebrity. Like you can you can have a person in your life that's not romantically involved and you see them as a star, like you see them as a celebrity, and therefore you treat them as such. Like, you know, go out to eat. Oh, your money's not good here. You're a star. You don't pay for anything in my establishment. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But go ahead and finish that. I think it is possible.
Well, I agree. I mean, in terms of the way that we've been using the term simping and people doing things in order to gain a certain favor with someone, I've seen it with family members being nice to a certain family member because you know this person has money and will willingly lend money to you. You know, of course, you're going to be nice to that person. You're not going to be rude to them because they're going to say yes when you're at your point of need. So I absolutely agree that that is possible to do with family and friends.
So, Ronald, I heard you just say it, and it something clicked in my head, and you said, like, if they're rich or if they have money, that sounds like you're looking for a transaction, right?
Right.
Like, it may not be sex, but you're looking for some type of transaction. So, is simping as simple as you're doing something good, but not for goodness sake? You're doing it looking for a transaction in return. I
Right.
I think that there have been books that call it like a what is it, like an invisible contract. Like
Right.
I'm doing something and putting you under contract for something you don't even know. Like,
Right.
here, take this. What, from the goodness of your heart? Yeah, from the goodness of my heart.
Wink, wink.
Well, you know, gaslighters are good for this. People who gaslight, they're absolutely good for that. And you've got to be smart enough to realize, wait a minute, this person is a gaslighter and they're giving me this. And sometimes we've even responded, I'm not gonna owe you nothing because you give me this, right?
Yep.
Okay, if you give it to me, I'm gonna take it, but I don't owe you jack. You gotta let that be known up front. You think this is a transaction, but it's really not. This is one way. This is out of the kindness of your heart. Thank you for your donation, sir or
Right.
ma'am.
You know what? Not to get too far off topic, but there are times where, like, let's say one of you said, "Hey, can I borrow $20?" I'd probably give it to you before I lend it to you. Like if I have it like that, so because I don't want the expectation in my head that I want it back.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I'm thinking about a situation like legit between you and I right now, and I'm like, I'm still waiting on you to tell me what my damage is. So,
Yo, I I had a conversation. This gets almost too personal, but we're gonna go there. I had a conversation with another friend of mine through text message earlier today. And we were talking about, hey man, how much I owe you? Like, man, I can't even count right now. I don't even know. Because it's like, it gets to a point where it's like there have been so many one-way transactions between the two of us. Like, it would take us forever to actually go back and keep scoring. Like we'd actually we'd have to run tape.
right.
Like, all right, pull 2023, 2022, and 2021 and run a tape. And let's go back and look over the last 3 years.
But I mean, I think that also speaks to the nature of relationships. So before I get too far off topic, I
Go
asked
for
the
it.
question and I didn't answer it.
Go
So
for it.
I asked about whether or not it's possible to simp for someone outside of a romantic relationship, and I absolutely agree that it is possible, right? And based on the definition and turn and the way that it's being used, it would be seen, I can see how someone could say that child A is trying to simp for one of their parents with the intent of trying to get their way or trying to get something out of that parent. And if you start breaking things down to that level, is that really, I mean, for me, I don't see that as simping anymore. I see that as kids trying to, work the system, and they know who to go to and who to ask for certain things. We've all done it, but to try and use it as a derogatory term in that instance just feels wrong and kind of out of order. But again, I feel like that's the way things are trending. I don't Another word, I won't say I don't. Another word that came to mind, Tony said something earlier about the simp being the reflection of a pimp. I got another imp word, a wimp. The simp and the wimp have seemingly become synonymous in the sense that anytime you're doing something for someone and you're doing it with this expectation of the transaction being, completed on the other end, makes you soft, makes you weak, makes you less than, makes you a little wimpy. And it's, I don't know, it just feels like this is one of those terms that needs to be removed from the jargon altogether, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up in a world where everybody's too stone faced and too hard to do anything for anybody else, and no one does anything for anyone. And you end up in a world where everyone is all about self and could care less about anyone else, which is not a good place to be.
So,
No, it's not.
oh, go ahead.
I mean, a point has to come where people have to wake up and realize I can't respond to everybody like this. Like all the ladies, when a guy comes and tries to talk to you, oh, he thirsty. How about you stop attacking him with this word and realize that he's interested in you and he might just want to get to know you. Now, if you're not interested, then fine. Just say, hey, I'm sorry, thank you, but I'm not interested. Or thank you, I have someone. You have a good day, sir. But, it's time to start thinking about this thing differently, other than just um, 21st century jargon for insulting someone. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay. So we've kind of gone down a road. First, it was all about, too much attention to someone, too much energy put into someone. Then it kind of got aimed at sex in particular. Then we started talking about transactions. And then Terrence just mentioned about a child trying to get attention or favor from their parent. So I feel like that's a line that was just crossed, right? Like, I can't consider a child simping for a parent because a child should be getting attention from a parent, or a child should be getting love from a parent. Or is it a bad thing for a child to want love and attention? Like, it's making me kind of think about this thing all topsy-turvy. Like, let's say that you like a girl, you do something nice for her, you do that in an attempt to get favor and attention from her. Is that a bad thing? Is that negative? Is that weakness? I'm not sure that is. Now, maybe going overboard with it, I can understand, but I don't think that an act of kindness is a negative thing. And I feel like I'm walking out on the plank when I say this, because I feel like I'm leaving society behind me when I'm saying this, because I don't think a lot of people think the same way. They're like, okay, if you do something for someone, you should get something in return. Don't do good for goodness sake. You better watch out, better not cry. Don't do good for goodness sake. Do good for people that do good for you. I understand that. But there are times when the people that are good to me are not able to do good for me. What do I do then? Do I stop being good because they've lost the ability? Like, let me throw a hypothetical situation. So let's say it's three of us in this chat, right? Let's say that we all go to dinner and we go out once a week, and each week we take turns paying, right? Okay. Terrence pays, next week I pay, next week Rana pays. Let's say I lose my job. Do we not go out to dinner that week? Do y'all just eat without me?
We're gonna cover you.
Do y'all just eat without me?
For sake of being serious, I'm not gonna say what was the first thing that came to mind.
Do y'all go send me a bill? Send me an invoice? I'm assuming none of those. I'm assuming that we would still go out as we normally would. And if it was anybody else, if it wasn't me, the other two, me and Rhino or me and Terrence, would cover the bill.
Right.
And we wouldn't expect anything in return.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's getting lost, because that's the essence of relationships, is kind of that trust that, and I know it sounds weird, the trust that it'll come back to you eventually.
Right.
Or to trust that when the shoe's on the other foot, that person will be just as kind to you as you were to them.
This is starting to remind me of an episode of Martin. There's an episode of Martin, like early in the show where I think it was Cole had loaned Gina some money and Martin had a whole fit of like, wait, baby, what you mean? Cole let you borrow some money. And she told him, like, look, I just asked Cole for like some money to pay for a cab or something. You were in the shower and just real quick. You can't do that because he has power over you now, and I think that's where how people perceive this doing nice things for people. Sometimes you do something nice for somebody, now I've got power over you, and you were supposed to like pay me back because you owe me. And like, no, it's just I'm trying to give you assistance in a situation where you may not have it. I keep coming back to this thought of someone's got to start it. It's got to start somewhere. Because if we're always waiting for somebody to do something for us with the intent of them doing something in return, for all you know, they could have done something for you previously and they're waiting on you to pay them back.
Wouldn't that be a shame if, like, let's say you're so close to a breaker and the person that you know has your solution, but holding it back because of something you ain't did in 2021.
Right.
Like, that nigger didn't call me when COVID came out.
Exactly.
I got the cure right here in my hand, but I ain't gonna give it to him because I'm mad. Oh my goodness. People, we need to be better. We need to be better people.
Absolutely.
Yes, we absolutely do.
we
Absolutely.
need to be better people. Oh my goodness.
It's time to dig down and find that love and bring it to the surface, dust it off and clean it up and make it the preeminent item on your shelf of your life.
And I'm gonna go in my nerd bag, but this is from the Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie when Raiden say it is not weakness to value life. Yeah, we need to value each other.
Good point. Good point.
And boys to men say simping ain't easy.
Oh gosh. Okay.
But shoot, I think we probably need to go ahead and wrap that one up on that note.
That's a good place to tie this all up at. Yeah.
But shoot, y'all
For
folks
sure.
got anything y'all want to add before we close?
I think you said it all with that
All right.
boys to men line for sure.
All right, well, in that note, I'll pass it to Terrence for the closing.
As always, if anybody has any thoughts or a differing opinion on the simping thing, please feel free to share. Comment section is always open. We like to revisit, pull something from it, address it, etc. But until next time, thank y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. God bless you. Good night. Peace.
Good night, everybody.
Peace.